Syphon Filter 3 marked the end of the series. Sure, there was the online-focused Omega strain and the PSP games that were eventually ported to PS2, but none of these returned Syphon Filter to its past success, which is why the series joined SOCOM and Ape Escape as dead Sony franchises. But was it deserved? Is it really that bad? And how has it aged? So Syphon Filter 3 came out in late 2001, a full year after the PlayStation 2's release. This is one of the reasons it was judged more harshly than the prior two games. Reviews were the lowest of the trilogy. The gaming industry was innovating, but was the Syphon Filter series? The story kicks off with a remade cutscene of the end of the second game. It's Teresa's funeral and ew. The PlayStation is capable of mind-boggling effects, but this is just gross. Syphon Filter 3 has some of the ugliest early 2000s CGI I've seen. Syphon Filter 1 and 2 had animated faces over blocky-headed character models. It was charming. Here, it's more technically impressive, sure, but it's also uglier. I remember not liking it even at the time, and it's aged worse than the prior two games because of it. I think it's a desperate jump to realism and sacrificing art style to do it. I'd prefer a slightly more cartoony Syphon Filter. I'm also not a fan of Logan's redesign. Leon's still fairly similar to the early games, so it's whatever, but Logan this face ain't doing it. The story itself starts off in the most exciting place on the planet, the US Senate floor. Anyway, Logan's being grilled by the Secretary of State, who we, the audience, know plans on betraying Logan and have the president, vice president, and Senate president killed so he can become the president. Honestly, it's a really dumb plan. The Secretary of State is the fourth in line to the presidency. How are you killing off three of the most powerful people on the planet? So what, you can be president for like 2 years? Do you have another plan to become dictator after that? I don't know, it's a wacky story. SF1 and 2 were a little silly, sure, but still believable. SF3 is less Tom Clancy, more dusty book on a shelf at Goodwill. As each member recounts the events to Secretary of State Haddon, you'll play as that character. This does have the benefit of fleshing out the characters' backstories and could be a fun distraction, but it's a bit annoying when you wanted a mainline SF game that pushed the story further in a significant way, especially when the PS2 was out and had a bunch of new exciting games for it. My thoughts? Well, if you're returning to Syphon Filter, why do it on the PS1? And more than that, why a dusty old story about the past? That's not exciting. I think this could have worked as a side game or any other time than when the greatest console of all time was just released. Speaking of old and dusty, the gameplay is so similar to the prior two games that besides the levels, you could never tell it was a third in the series. Same controls, abilities, UI, everything. Giant Bomb's review at the time said, quote, Syphon Filter 3 looks, plays, and feels more like an expansion pack for the previous games than a true sequel, end quote, which even today still holds true. But it's not just the gameplay. The graphics, sound effects, and structure all remain unchanged. But it's actually even worse than that, because the changes that were made were for the worst. In my prior two videos, I raved about the music. It's so good in Syphon Filter 1 and 2, but here in 3, well, gone are the tense rock tracks that evoke mystery and suspense. It's been replaced with this. The majority of these tracks are forgettable at best, and I don't even understand it. It's the same composer for all three games, which sounds like an easy excuse, just, oh, it must be his fault, blame him. But there are a million different reasons why it could be this way. Maybe he was rushed, maybe it's the direction he was given, maybe some other random reason. I tried to look into it, but couldn't find any solid information, so it'll have to remain a mystery for now. So Haddon is grilling Logan, asking him under oath if he's ever assassinated a world leader. Logan says no, then the game cuts to him assassinating a world leader. Shihao, the rogue Chinese general from the second game, is Logan's target. So we flash back 2 weeks ago in Tokyo. Shihao is planning on using Syphon Filter to help him overthrow the Chinese government. He's also meeting with a Japanese terrorist group called the JRA to help him. Logan's going to execute the general, along with his top lieutenants. Logan shows off his impressive Japanese skills,
Arigato,
and heads up to his floor.
ひどい天気ですね。本当にひどい。
He's so rude. Logan gets the key for room 413, so we as the player have to find the room ourselves. It's such a small thing, but forcing the player to pay attention to the dialogue so that we know what to do next is great. I love when games expect the player to pay attention. It's why Morrowind is so beloved. Anyway, this room contains a sniper rifle we can use to take out the targets. Shihao's room is also audio bugged, so we learn that Mara Aramov is involved, because of course she is. Anyway, I don't like this level. Let's compare the first level of the 3 Syphon Filter games. The first game opens with an action-packed firefight in the streets of DC. It involves enemies, allies, and yourself. You can go down into the subway, the restaurant, or the alleyway. The choice is up to you, which makes it feel open. The second game begins with parachuting down onto a mountain. You only have one place to go, but the mountain itself is fairly open as you track down your objectives. And then you got the third game, which opens with you locked in a tiny hotel room, playing a glorified shooting gallery with a sniper. It's such a drab way to open a game. This is the opening level, which should be one of, if not the best level of your game. It needs to grab you and convince you to keep playing. The second issue is that it goes on for way too long. Almost 2 minutes doesn't sound like much, but it really feels slow when it's the same copy-pasted enemies who run to the exact same locations. On the plus side, the taser is back. The JRA takes a few hostages in the hotel. We save them and Leon picks us up. Cut to Logan and Leon in Costa Rica, investigating Black Baton's involvement in the area. An agent is MIA, so in we go. Now this is pretty impressive from a graphics standpoint. You can hear the bugs in the background, the thick foliage everywhere, and Logan, again, changes clothes depending on the level. No, I will not stop mentioning it because I love it. Anyway, this level does a great job on feeling bigger than it actually is. There's automated turrets spread around too, which can be disabled with grenades. The prior games had grenades too, but it didn't use them all that often, so it's nice to see them required here. You find the agent just as he's executed. This is a drug plantation being used by Black Baton, but we're unsure why. We already know what Black Baton tried doing, and what happened to Logan, Leon, and Romer, who's Black Baton's leader. So why are we here? What's the point of this level from a story perspective? It doesn't show Logan or any of the characters in a new light. It's just filler content, a game level just because. Now, I'd give a pass if the level was good, but it's not. It's a circle you can run a loop in. Around this loop are a few plant samples you need to collect. Most are burning as Romer is covering his tracks since he knows we're here. You gotta run around the loop collecting them. It's not fun, it's not mentally stimulating, it's just boring. I feel like a hamster. I'm literally running in circles. Why is this the second level? Why is any of this any level? Gimme out. So it's not enough to collect the samples. You also have to find the plant sample kit. Great, I love hunting for a box in the forest in my video games, then collecting plants. It is so much fun. If you didn't already, the dislike button is on the bottom right, I believe, on your screen. If you're a big Syphon Filter 3 fan, you can hit that probably, just as a heads up. Don't want to hit it yet? Then let's discuss voice acting. I don't know why or what happened, but it feels like David Hayter all over again.
So what's our next move?
We wait for the next viral outbreak. It won't be long.
What is this delivery?
We wait for the next viral outbreak.
Do the line again. Logan's voiced by Chacon, a voice actor who has no credits outside the Syphon Filter series, and this would be his final Syphon Filter game, as Logan's voice actor would change in the next game. Why? Well, there's 2 stories given. One, given by the man himself, claims a payment dispute. John gave an online interview in 2020, and rather than me explain it, I'll have him give his side of the story in his own words.
There was a discrepancy over some money. They had asked me to come in, and on the third one, we had to do some pickup lines, and I was there for like 5 or 6 minutes, and that was it. Whoever was the engineer at that time, he just had me fill out a time card, and it was a minimum of like 4 hours, and I felt bad taking 4 hours for 5 minutes. I've been told him, don't worry about it, forget it, it's 5 minutes, who cares? And he said, no, if you come in here, you got to get paid. And they wouldn't. Even through the argument, I told them, well, just pay me for the 5 minutes. I'm good with that. What is it, $20? And nope, they refused. Sony refused. And it's like, you know what, guys? I'm going to take you to the labor commissioner to keep this up. And the actors union. So I guess after that, they just didn't want to use me anymore.
This story kinda confuses me. Why would you threaten to get your union involved if a company is trying to pay you more than what you think you're worth? If I were to steelman his story, I'd say he didn't realize how serious a corporation like Sony would take his union threat. But yeah, anyway, if you're a young professional out there watching this, don't threaten your workplace with your union. Just talk to your union instead. Or just take the money. So what's the other story? Well, in a different online interview, John Garvin, lead writer and artist of the Syphon Filter series, recounts a different reason. Again, here's the story in his own words.
Also, real quick, to answer his question about Chacon.
Yeah.
So, dude, Chacon was awesome, dude, but he was literally, this was a guy that they brought in off the street. He was a truck driver, dude, in the Bay Area,
right,
if I remember correctly. And he had the perfect voice for it, but it was really, really hard on his voice,
right,
to get down into that gravelly Gabe Logan register. And it was not his natural voice. He could totally do it.
Right.
And he wasn't SAG.
Regardless of who you believe, I do think Logan's voice acting is noticeably worse in 3. Maybe a 4th game with his voice would have been okay, but it ain't looking good. The first 3 Syphon Filter games didn't use professional voice actors, including John Chacon. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. In interviews, you can tell he loves the series and poured a ton of passion into it. But Sony wanted to move to professionals in the industry. It's a shame, and at the end of the day, I don't think anyone's really at fault. It just kind of is what it is. Getting back to the story, Logan and Leon collect the samples. There's also a pretty neat minefield section here where you have to use the map to avoid mines. Then Logan jumps onto Romer's plane as it's taking off. I'm a sucker for these sorts of segments in games. Fighting inside a moving plane is a classic action movie trope. It's like a train level in games. It's never bad. I know I'm a bit monotone, but I'm not being sarcastic. After killing the crew, Romer comes down, but he's decked out in full body armor. If you run by him into the cockpit, there's a neat little cutscene.
Kill me and this whole plane goes crashing down.
Right.
And the switch to the cargo door. This boss fight would be tense if we didn't already know Romer survives. It's not a biggie, but it gets back to the question as to why this is a prequel. Not just that, but even the boss fight itself is just recycled from the second game. You need to push Romer off the plane using a shotgun, just like how he killed Chance.
Romer had escaped.
Yeah, Romer escaped.
The story shifts to various characters before they met Gabe and joined the agency. First up is Lawrence, who was also introduced in the prior game. His backstory is a little more interesting. We follow him as he fought as a freedom fighter during the 80s in South Africa. Also like the second game, it opens with parachuting in. Whatever, not a huge deal. It's not like the parachuting was utilized much in that game anyway. I should mention, all the characters control identical to Logan, so the changes are simply cosmetic. The levels themselves are nicely designed. This one's a fantastic example. You parachute in, and it's a circular, almost arena-like area with a ton of verticality. Then you head into the tunnels, and it's more closed off. After that, you gotta move into a large space with a couple shacks and guards. You're constantly exploring and fighting in different areas with geography you gotta account for. The prior games, especially 1, did this and more though. Here though, you'll never roll under a closing gate or shoot a sparking switch to turn on an elevator. I miss those little moments. They made it memorable, and this is why the first is my favorite. We find 2 slaves and escort them out, is what I would say if they didn't die. Remember escort missions? All the trauma's coming back to me. Also, why are these guys always falling off cliffs? I'm not complaining, it's just weird. Lawrence channels his inner indie and rides out of the exploding mine in a minecart. Well, on a minecart. It was the PlayStation. It couldn't really do polygons too well, so the minecart's a square. Use your imagination. Lawrence finds a slave driver. That sounds so wrong, but I don't know what to call him. Anyway, he says the miners have been falling ill, so they've been quarantined.
I had found my brothers, but I would not be setting them free.
This was Lawrence's first contact with the virus, of which he took a sample. Cut back to the hearing, he gave a sample to Leon, who in turn had the agency look at it, by which I mean Farcom. It's all coming together. I don't like that this is a prequel, and I stand by that, but I will say it is sometimes nicely written. Things usually connect and make sense. Next up is Leon, who was working as a Chinese agent dispatched to Afghanistan to undermine the Soviet presence there. Unbeknownst to her at the time, Gabe was also operating in the area as an Army Ranger. Unfortunately, this first meeting is told rather than shown. You never see them meet for the first time, which, come on, isn't that the point of the game? Why do a backstory prequel if you're not going to show the important bits? Anyway, you need to create a diversion for him. Leon's helping Gabe because he saved her from a Soviet ambush, which again was told to us rather than shown. Gee, I don't know, would have been cool to play that. Fighting Soviets as an inexperienced Leon Zing, then Gabe Logan busts in to save our ass. Not only that, but it would have elevated his combat prowess as an agent in the player's eyes. This level might be my favorite in the game. It's varied again with lots of indoor-outdoor environments, underground tunnels, crumbling structures, and the peeking soldiers from 2 are back. Also, they change up the objectives. You're taking pictures of maps, disabling radios, getting blown up. It's a fun time. There's also these snipers up here that you gotta take out. So just like in Lawrence's level, you have way more verticality than in the previous Syphon filters. Though the series has always done a great job at that. It's not like 1 and 2 were slouching either. Speaking of, these guys are tough. I didn't think this game was too hard, but reading about it after beating it, it looks like a common theme. Everyone says how hard this game is, which I'm not going to disagree with. I highly recommend either playing it on an emulator or the PlayStation Store version. Both of these have HD and save state support. The game's checkpoint system is fine, but once you start playing with save states, it's really tough to go back. Just ask your boomer PC gaming dad. This level also gives you the A300, a rifle that can both see and shoot through walls. It also punches through flak jackets. The game's image representation is of a Steyr AUG, an old Australian rifle that very much cannot do those things. Syphon Filter always had a huge assortment of weapons, but they're some of the most untrue to real life as games get. Also, it's so damn satisfying. All of these Syphon Filter games, when you shoot someone and it makes a little ping noise, or big ping noise if it's a big boy gun, and then you see the 2D blood come out. If you're making a good shooter, then like 70% of it is making the act of shooting and killing things fun. It seems simple, but a lot of game devs never seem to understand this. But Syphon Filter does, and it's so good because of it. We take out some mortars for Gabe and cut back to Leon.
To help him with murder, assassination, arms dealing, acts of terrorism.
Acts of terrorism.
We never committed acts of terrorism.
We're not terrorists.
I'm almost there. How much time do I have left to plant these explosives?
By the way, how much time is left to plant these explosives? In present day, Gabe's in Ireland, working with MI6 to track down a shipment of the virus on a ship. Aren't all shipments on ships? Isn't that the point? Also, this guy gets shot in the dick a bunch, but seems unbothered. This level's feeling really familiar. Oh, it's another loop. So I know Syphon Filter has always had these levels that sort of loop back in themselves, but it's never been this egregious. It is literally a circle. Yes, I know it's a ship and realistic or whatever, but I'm not playing a Syphon Filter super spy game for its realistic ship interiors. The captain goes down with the ship, meaning 2 in the dome. We plant the explosives, grab the shipping manifest, then do some backtracking back down to the cargo hold. There we defend Maggie Powers' MI6 until we can make our escape. This is where I'd put the cool CGI cutscene of the ship exploding, but the game doesn't have one. Enjoy this shot of a crane instead. Swap back to Leon. One of her assignments with Logan and the agency begins in Aztec ruins in Costa Rica. Black Baton was kidnapping scientists and doctors to work in their labs. And do you see how confusing this is? It's a prequel, but it's not. It goes back in time, but then it skips forward a few years, and then back 5 years, and then back to the present day. Who's president? Where am I? It's such a clusterfuck. The entire point of a prequel or these flashbacks is to see character growth. No one has ever had that in a Syphon Filter game. There is not a single character in this series who goes from being one way to being another. As much as I love this series, it can't write characters. That's okay, it's a dumb stealth action game on a 25-year-old platform. Until it's not. Until we're getting into a time when game stories were maturing. At the start of this video, I mentioned how this game killed the series as we knew it. It was to the point they couldn't do another one for the PS2, hence the online-focused Omega Strain. Maybe the PSP games changed that, but we'll see. In my opinion, the first game was lightning in a bottle. 1 year to make a new game in a new genre. It was fantastic. And the second game, again, it took 1 year to make and was still great. I know a lot of people consider the second to be their favorite, but I still like the first the most. Anyway, the third game, another 1 year dev cycle, and it's just the same, but worse. Something needed to drastically change by the time they got here. I wish they could have made 3 a PS2 title. I think the different hardware would have forced the team to really look at what makes a Syphon Filter game, and what new ways can they use the new powerful system. And if you think I'm frustrated now, wait until you hear about this next level. The Aztec level is a bit of a joke in the community. Not only is it tough, but it's so easy to get lost, you have to assume it's intentional. You gotta free some scientists, but to free the scientists, you need to first find them, since they're spread out in this maze level. And second, you need C4 to open up their cells. And there's not even a cool T-Rex to spook ya. That's a Tomb Raider reference. It's funnier if I explain the So after that level just instantly ends and flashes back to the hearing, where Haddon talks about trust. Then flashback forward? Now? Flash now? To, I don't know, I'm very confused. Anyway, we go back to Logan and Maggie in Ireland fighting the IRA.
IRA?
They got wind of this shipment somehow. Probably decided they could use the virus for themselves.
Who's their contact?
Don't know, but we've got to get to those trucks before they do.
Let's move.
It seems they want the virus for their own ends, presumably to gas the Brits, or whatever. Listen, I'm American. I don't know what you Europeans are doing over there. This level's full of MI6 operatives who can't protect themselves to save their lives. Literally. Save this guy, save that guy. This one doesn't even carry a gun.
Logan, this is my best locksmith, Jim Russell. He's an MI6 operative, but he can't line up a shot to save his life. He'll be your partner to crack the safe. You must provide cover fire, since he doesn't carry a sidearm.
The flimsy excuse Maggie gives is he's a very bad shot. Then why is he on the team? After stopping the IRA from getting the virus, we get this cutscene. Oh, I was wrong about the ship cutscene, hell yeah. Flash now? I thought Gabe was in Ireland at present day. Wait, yeah, look at the briefing for the cargo mission with Gabe. While Leon is testifying in Washington in Ireland, so how's Gabe in Ireland and Washington at the same time? I'm so confused. Flash forward, I guess, to Afghanistan, where Gabe's working with Benton, attempting to move arms to the rebels. But then we're attacked by Afghanistans? Aren't Afghanistans the rebels? Also, if your entire convoy was wiped out except for you guys, wouldn't this entire operation get called off? Gabe claims that Benton claims he's CIA and it's a secret operation. But why's Gabe, an Army Ranger, here? Wouldn't that be real bad if the Soviets found out that the US had boots on the ground? And if it was a convoy of trucks carrying arms and supplies, and they were destroyed, all but one, why would you keep going? Aren't the supplies destroyed? Isn't going deeper into enemy territory a terrible idea since you just got screwed even when you had more men and facing lighter resistance? My head hurts. It's funny because my worry when making the first Syphon Filter video was that it would be too hard to follow or explain the plot. Spy thrillers tend to have complicated storylines and I'm a bit of a layman. But actually both 1 and 2 were pretty easy to follow. 3 though, I have no clue. And because it majority takes place in the past, I also find it hard to care. Also, this is another escort mission, so fuck me. I don't like this game. If you're not getting lost in Aztec mines, you're escorting trucks in Kabul. There's a tank blocking the path, but Gabe has a plan.
What are you planning? No idea.
Never mind. Gabe grabs Old Faithful, being C4, and blows the tank. I will give credit here though, the game makes you do it yourself, which feels way better than being told when and where to place it. Flash sideways to Leon, who's in Australia, while Gabe's testifying in Washington. I still don't understand how this works. Anyway, the shipping manifest from the ship Logan was on points to this being the shipping origin of the virus. Our goal is to kidnap Dr. Elsa Weisinger. Are we the baddies? We still have the AUG gun, and this level's open, but it's actually open, not a circle. There's a couple objectives, such as sabotage a radio, and you can hit them in any order you wish. This is the type of level design I think this game's largely missing. I dance on a mass grave, and I'm no longer wondering if we're the baddies. We find Elsa, who's been waiting for Aramov. We also free some Australian Aboriginal test subjects. Never thought I'd say that sentence. One of which is hotboxing. Nice. And then we extract with Elsa. We're heading off to a nearby village where the camp commander is about to execute everyone, and we're gonna stop him, because we're the good guys, and all the good guys have the exact same morals and personality, and we never grow or change in any way. You can swap Leon for Logan, for Teresa, for Lawrence, and they're all identical, and would always do whatever the most stereotypical good guy thing is to do at any moment. This is basically a Superman game. The characters are boring. Anyway, this is a stealth level, as you need to get to the test subjects before the camp knows we're there. It's pretty cut and dry. Back to DC, Haddon's not buying our story. Which, hey, can you blame him? Pretty wacky story. Speaking of wacky...
You, Mr. Logan, are guilty of treason, terrorism, and murder.
No, you're wrong. Gabe is telling the truth.
I don't understand. My records seem to indicate... A coroner's report states...
Teresa was injured, not killed.
Teresa bursts into the room, which one is stupid because she's supposed to be dead. Her being alive as a twist completely undermines the second game. You may as well have Chance come back and make him be a secret good guy. It's dumb, I hate it. It's a terrible twist just for the sake of having one. It feels like cheap and manipulative writing. And two, I'm pretty sure you can't just burst into the Capitol anytime you feel... Oh. Time for Teresa's backstory. She joined the ATF and was on assignment to secure a government satellite that went down in Montana, right next to a survivalist militia camp. They're not too friendly to outsiders, let alone the government, so this place is a war zone. We run into some captured militiamen who claim these guys aren't FBI. But before we can think too hard, we're ambushed by armed militiamen. We plant a homing beacon, but witness the government agents killing an unarmed militiaman.
Do what you have to. I won't cooperate with no feds. Kill him.
No, stop.
The game doesn't tell you this, as far as I know, but that was actually Earl Oakton, the patriarch of the militiamen. That's going to be important later. Then a familiar voice finds us.
What should we do with her?
Kill her. She's seen too much.
Wait a minute. What?
Get on your knees. You can get up now.
Gabe can't help us directly, but he gives us a tracker and communication device and heads off to fulfill his mission. Meanwhile, Teresa heads into the compound to retrieve the satellite. It turns out the FBI is actually the NSA. Haddon correctly points out Teresa killed 2 government agents, and she acknowledges it, and then it's just kind of ignored. I don't know, seems like a big deal to me. But also, we know the militia's head family has a father, a teenage son, and a pregnant wife, whom Teresa really wants to save. I'm pretty sure the dozens of militiamen and government agents you've been killing have families too, Teresa. Just saying. This level is actually one of the best in the game, largely because it sticks to what makes a great level. Varied objectives, even if the rationale is a little silly, and also interesting locations that don't overstay their welcome, and nothing makes it frustrating, which after rescuing scientists in Costa Rica is a big plus for me. Also, here's a section where you need to plant the homing beacon Gabe gave us on the NSA commander, all without him knowing. More of this, please. We surrender to the militia, who doesn't seem to be bothered by how many of their buddies we killed. I mean, we kill this guy, that guy, this guy too. Water under the bridge? Bro, it's a fucking tsunami. We got some buddies to fight alongside though. We find the family, and despite our jacket saying we're with the ATF, the son trusts us. If we were here to kill him, he'd already be dead though, so it makes sense. But why doesn't he have a weapon? That's like your entire thing. We fight our way to the pregnant matriarch, as NSA agents are attempting to break their way into the inner sanctum. Inside is Debbie Oakton, who's entered labor, so now we need to find Terbutaline, I can't pronounce this.
With terbutaline.
Which is used to help with premature deliveries, and what is this game? What are we doing? I love weird, but this is really weird. Did you ever think in a Syphon Filter game you'd be grabbing this medicine for a militia woman who's going into pregnancy prematurely while you're an ex-ATF agent, all the while the NSA is attempting to kill you both? That's a mouthful. And don't misunderstand, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, what the hell? Anyway, I kinda dig this. You gotta escort her out while these guys are shooting at both of you, and it's something else. I shoot her in the head out of morbid curiosity. Games don't let you kill kids, but goddamn you can. That's messed up. I shot a pregnant woman in the face. That's another thing I thought I'd never say. Can terbutylin fix that? We make it to the escape tunnel and radio Logan for pickup.
Logan, do you read me?
I read you.
I've got the Oaklands. I need a pickup if you can manage it.
I think I can take care of that.
Teresa explains she's been following Mara Aramov since Teresa faked her death. Teresa found Aramov meeting with Haddon, and in come the Special Prosecutor Office agents, working with Gabe and his team to arrest Haddon. The jig's up. Jesus Christ! She kills Haddon and our nameless officers, RIP, and apparently planted viral bombs throughout the capital. The CBDC is back, and oh, it's a reunion. That's cute. They don't have the iconic look from the first game, though. Lame. The bombs are controlled by a code that Lawrence thinks is in Haddon's office. There's too many to individually defuse, so down we go. We find the code and neutralize the bombs, but Mara's hijacking a subway car to escape. Aw, it's a second reunion. I'm having so much deja vu. Lawrence says we need to stop her because she has one bomb left. If we don't, the entire city will be poisoned. Okay, so then why use 20 bombs if one's just as effective? Whatever. Another train level, it's good, like all train levels are. We rescue some hostages, including a senator.
You almost got me killed! Expect a call from my lawyer.
Excuse me? Mara takes a hostage while hiding behind bulletproof glass. This took me a little bit to figure out, but you can climb above the car and then use the good old Steyr AUG to shoot through the walls. And of course she survives the headshot somehow.
Finish it.
It's already over, Mara.
Gabe's like Batman at this point. Literally the next cutscene, she escapes custody again.
Mara's gone. Apparently security didn't see anything. Cameras have been wiped.
Figures.
Gabe, please. You make me sound crazy, but just kill her. Anyway, Gabe is promoted to chief of the agency and is tasked with rebuilding it. Teresa sure is very flowy. Syphon Filter has been defeated and we get a full pull-away shot, fade to credits. But wait, there's a final cutscene.
If you want to go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back.
How'd this footage get in here?
Right, go down, go up. And it's Bluetooth.
The game ends in the most Syphon Filter way possible. I both love and hate it. It's a good ending to a game I didn't enjoy playing. But wait, there's more! There's also a 2-player versus mode, as well as some challenge missions you can play single player. You can even play as different characters in different scenarios and using levels from the other games. It's a really awesome addition that wasn't required. Ah, the memories. SF3 has some big highs, but lots of low lows. It's certainly the weakest of the three. My own personal ranking goes 1, 2, not far behind, then 3, pretty far behind. If we disagree, I hope I did a good job backing up my points at the very least. And consider subscribing if you want to see a Mega Strain next. And if 3's your favorite, get out of here. No, seriously, get out of here. The video's over. See ya, bye.